Hi everyone, good morning. I welcome you all to this meeting of Young Indian Theosophists Group. And as you all know, today's meeting is a talk on pain, its meaning and use, followed by a group discussion. So before starting the talk, let us quickly sit in meditation. O hidden life, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light, shining in every creature. O hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May each who feels himself as one with thee know he is also one with every other. Come back, everyone, and thank you for joining. Our speaker for the day is Brother Pradeep. Brother Pradeep has pursued his master's in biotechnology. He is working as a business manager for an organic products company and is also a professional consultant for hydroponics. He is a third generation theosophist and was introduced to theosophy naturally since childhood. He is a member of Bangalore City Lodge and he became an active member since 2002. And since then, he has been giving lectures at various theosophical lodges in Karnataka. With this, I welcome Brother Pradeep. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Kritika, for your warm introduction. Good morning to everyone. And today we are having this study session. All these sessions these days were symposiums and other activities, group discussions were really wonderful. But once in a while, we'll have a study session where we'll pick up a subject or a topic or a booklet and then have a study on that. Study is also very much necessary as compared to other formats of group discussions, symposiums, other things. So today's topic is by Madam Annie Besant, Dr. Annie Besant, pain, its meaning and uses. So what is pain? First, we will deal with the meaning of pain, and then slowly we will see what are the uses of pain. Does pain really helps us? And before I start my lecture, I think it reminds me of the very famous Hindi song, चल के तुझे मैं लेके चलूं, जहाँ गम भी ना हो, जहाँ आंसू भी ना हो. So I think I'm trying to take you to that world where there is no pain. But if I have to take you to that and make you understand that, first we need to know what is the meaning of pain. Madam Besant, this is actually a lecture given by Dr. Annie Besant for the Blavatsky Lodge. So we will be studying this lecture today. Nature of man. Before we understand what is pain, I think we all should recall what Theosophy has taught us about the nature of man. What is nature of man? Man, is he the appearance or the personality that we see in this physical world, or is he something else? In Theosophy, I think we all have understood and we have heard many lectures so far that man, the true self of man, is not what you see in this physical world. There is a soul, which is the true self, but which is working in different bodies or which is covered with different sheets of bodies and manifesting in this physical world. So we have this physical body that we use as a vehicle to live in this physical world. And hence, similarly, there are various levels, various bodies upper as we go upwards that we shed time to time and then reach the soul. But again, the soul takes a rebirth, comes back to this physical world, with again the cycle of this rebirth continues with every cycle, the self shedding off its various bodies. So I think we have so far understood this cycle of rebirth and the nature of man and his bodies. So we know that the self has a physical body in the physical world, and the astral body, the manas, the mind, the lower mind and the upper mind, and then the buddhi, and finally the soul. So the soul travels through all these sheets of bodies in every rebirth and every manifestation. And similarly, consciousness also uh, there is a different level of consciousness that acts at different levels of the cycle of this rebirth. So the consciousness that is manifesting in this physical world, slowly it also evolves and it keeps learning about its presence in different worlds, and then ultimately it gains the consciousness of that soul. So as the bodies evolve, or as the bodies, as the self uh, passes through different bodies, the self, the soul also passes through various levels of consciousness. So these two things we need to understand before we understand what is the meaning of pain. So as the spirit or the spiritual self has become blinded by matter and other layers of bodies, and hence is no longer conscious of his own high destiny or of his own essential nature in the physical world. So, as the soul or the self that is manifested in this physical world, it is so blinded by various layers of bodies that it is blinded, and it is not aware of the higher consciousness or the higher self. So the consciousness at which we work in this physical world is completely blinded by the presence of higher consciousness or the higher self. So this blinded self comes into the manifested universe for the sake of learning. So in theosophy, we say that every rebirth or every birth that we take in this physical world is for a purpose. And what is that purpose? It is the purpose of learning, to gain knowledge, to gain experience. So the self or the soul, through every rebirth, it gains knowledge, it accumulates the knowledge, and then moves on to the next level or to the next cycle of birth. So this blinded self in this physical world, it has a purpose. So it has come to this physical world for the sake of learning. And hence the manifested body is called the body of desire, by which he feels, he thinks, and acts. So the self in this physical world has this body, and this body is considered as body of desire because it is through this vehicle that the self can feel, can think, and can act. So this body is called the body of desire because it wants something, it keeps desiring for something. And hence, through these senses, through these physical body and its senses, the self seeks out or desires something that is present in this physical world. Hence, the blinded self through the body of desire gets attracted to everything that is in this physical world. Quite natural, isn't it? So once you have your senses working, once the self has this vehicle, this physical body, through the senses, it can react or it can communicate with the objects that is present in this physical world. And then through this communication, through this connection between the self and this physical world, it starts desiring. It gets attracted towards everything that is present in this physical world that gains pleasure, sensation, joy, and happiness. So the self, using this vehicle of physical body, this which is called the body of desire, through the senses, it keeps attaining or it keeps gaining things or get attracted towards things that gives happiness, joy, and pleasure. He finds these joy, happiness, and things that are in the physical world as the ultimate goal. So the self that is working in this physical body, it keeps thinking that attaining happiness and joy is the ultimate goal until it is living here in this physical world. So through the senses, it keeps on having this kind of communication with the physical world to attain joy, happiness, and pleasure, and forgetting about what is there ahead of it or from where it has come. So ultimately, once it is in this physical world, it keeps enjoying with these things and trying to attain happiness and joy using the things that are in this physical world. Now, naturally, pain generates in this cycle of seeking joy and happiness in the physical world, because not all things that are blinded, that the blinded self desire, can come true. So here takes birth the pain. So when the self, through this physical body, through the senses, is trying to attain happiness and joy and pleasure through the senses in this physical world, using things that are present around, things and objects and people that are present around, not everything comes to it. Not everything that the self desires, that the man desires, can be obtained, can be gained. There are many obstacles, and there comes the pain. So pain is born when the self in the in the trying to attain happiness and joy through the physical body, when there are obstacles in this path, when not everything can comes to itself, when not everything is available, then this leads to pain. And this kind of cycle repeats where the self tries to attain happiness and joy through its senses in this physical world. And once it doesn't, one doesn't happen, doesn't get something, then there is pain. So this pain and desire through the senses keeps happening again and again in this physical world. Pain can also be cause of over gratification of the senses of this physical world. And there is another kind of pain that can come where the self has completely enjoyed or completely experienced the pleasure of anything. And then once it overdoes it, once it crosses all the limits, then there is another kind of pain which comes to it where it doesn't, it will no more like it. It will no more, that particular thing is no more desirable. That particular thing has lost its power of attraction. So that pain is a second level of pain where the over gratification, over satisfaction of any particular thing in this physical world can also lead to pain of dissatisfaction. So this is what the main reason where the pain is born, and how the cycle of pain and desire keeps happening for this self in this physical world. Now, what are the uses of pain? So as I said, the self is happily trying to get whatever it wants in this physical world through its senses and gaining happiness. And when it doesn't get, it feels pain. So this pain and desire, this cycle keeps repeating. But what are the uses of this pain? Why should the self goes through this pain? Is there anything use of it? If we look at the uses of pain, it is due to this continuous cycle of pain and desire that the self understands that there are laws in the universe that are connected with this physical body. So only through pain that the self can understand that not everything that I desire will come to me. So when everything that I'm planning, that I'm trying to get is not coming to me, there should be something. There should be a force that is acting upon me that is not making me to attain this particular thing. So that is the first lesson that the pain teach, that through this cycle of pain and desire, only the self can understand that there is something, bigger thing. There is something bigger than me, which is acting upon this universe. There are some laws, maybe, which are trying to make me not to get what I want. So, this understanding that there is something bigger than myself is the first lesson that the pain, because of pain, we try to understand. This self understands the idea of sequence, of cause and effect, and realize that there is something in the world that is stronger than itself, a law which he cannot break. So ultimately, the self in this physical world, through pain, it understands that there is something, of course, stronger than me. There is a force which is stronger than me, and it has its own laws. And I cannot go against its laws to gain pleasure and happiness in this physical world. So, therefore, the first lesson that the first use of pain is that the realization of a higher self or a higher being or a higher force in this world, and the realization that there are laws that are abiding everything. So, hence, nothing goes against the law, nothing can go against the law, and nothing can go against the will of the self, of the higher self, and everything that the individual self desires may or may not come true. So, that is the first realization. The spirit accumulates these lessons and gains knowledge and experience and learn to regulate desire. So once this cycle keeps continuous, this cycle of desire and pain keeps continues again and again, and then the self realizes that there is something bigger than the individual self. There are laws abiding it, and not everything goes according to the will of the individual self. And then it learns the individual self learns how to regulate the desires. So then that is the next step, that regulating desire, how to the lesson of self control is the first lesson learned by pain. And that regulation of desire is nothing but self control. So this lesson of self control is the ultimate goal, or the first lesson that any individual self learns in this physical world by pain. This leads to the evolution of individual self. So what is the next step? The next step is, it is that leads to the realization of evolution. So what is evolution? Here, man, for man, evolution is by experience, not by compulsion. Because as you have seen, as you have also understood in theosophy, the evolution of the physical matter, the animal kingdom, and the human being. So these three things, the laws of evolution are different. In kind, with regard to the physical world and to the animal kingdom, the evolution is compulsory, where things happen according to a plan. Where after this has to happen, and after that, the next thing has to happen. So all those things happen according to the plan. But when it comes to the human evolution, now I'm not talking about the physical evolution, the evolution of the physical body, but the evolution of the soul and the consciousness. When it comes to the human evolution of soul or the consciousness, that it is through experience. Human soul or the self has to learn through every experience in every rebirth, and then evolve, try to put an effort to evolve. Here nothing comes automatically. So here the experience or the knowledge that we gain in every rebirth or every cycle of birth is what that we carry forward, and that helps to the evolution of consciousness. So therefore, the self-control or the regulation of desire at one particular stage of birth, at one particular cycle, that is carried, that the lessons learned at that stage is carried, and that helps in the evolution of the accumulating experience of the reincarnating soul is to take the place of the compulsory education of the lower realms of nature. In the lower realms of nature means that's in the with regard to the physical matter and the animal kingdom, there is compulsory education. So there is something called compulsion, where the evolution happens according to a plan. But with regard to the human evolution, the accumulating experience, so all the experience that is accumulated in every birth of human is the accumulating experience of the reincarnating soul, because the soul reincarnates, takes rebirth again and again. So all the experience that it accumulates is what that leads to the evolution, with evolution of the consciousness of this human self. The presence of mind or manas in man that makes this element of pain so necessary a part of this education. So why this is very important to know is that pain is connected with manas, and the presence of manas in the human bodies is what that makes pain as a very necessary element in this evolution. And that pain deals with this mind, and then that leads to the accumulation of various experiences, and then which helps in the future evolution. So gradually, by this education of pain working upon mind through the body of desire, so this we need to understand here. So pain working up to mind through the body of desire. So the body of desire is the body through which we sense, and we have the senses. Through the senses, we try to desire things in this physical world, and we have a mind. So pain through this body of desire, it works up to the mind. So therefore, pain working upon mind through the body of desire will give us this education, will give us this experience. So gradually, by this education of pain working upon mind through the body of desire, this knowledge of law in the external universe grows up. So through this experience, we try to understand that there is a law and which is abiding everyone. There is a higher law or a higher self that acts according to a particular law. And there is nothing that can go against this law of the universe. And therefore, I'm not independent of this law. This individual self is not independent of that universal law. And we learn this lesson through the pain that works upon the mind. The use of pain is the gaining of the knowledge of law. So it is the pain that has given this knowledge. Through that pain, through the pain that we experience in this physical world, is what that has brought us to to the understanding that there is a higher law that is abiding us. So the use of pain is gaining the knowledge of the higher law or the law of the universe. Moving on to the next use of pain. Pain is rooted in the desire. As we just discussed, pain is rooted in the desire. But is desire a bad thing? No. Desire is that which draws soul to rebirth. Desire is that which fundamentally causes manifestation of universe. Desire continuously draws soul to the earth over and over, again and again. So it is the desire that brings the soul to take birth again and again in this physical world. The root cause of pain is desire, but the desire is the reason or the cause for manifestation, for rebirth. So it is the desire that brings the soul again and again to the physical world in order to gain experience. So more and more the soul takes birth in this physical world, comes back to this physical world again and again. In every cycle, it keeps accumulating its experiences. It keeps accumulating knowledge. And what makes the soul to come back? It is the desire. With every birth of soul into this physical world, desire is subjected to pain. And hence, the cycle of pain and desire leads to a long path of cyclic education of soul. So I think we are trying to understand how pain and desire work. Desire brings the soul again and again to the physical world, and desire leads to pain, and pain gives the necessary education for the soul about the presence of higher consciousness, and hence this cycle of pain and desire, this leads to a long path of cyclic education of soul. So this working of pain and desire is what that makes the soul to again and again take birth in this physical world and then keep accumulating the knowledge and the experience. So this is a very much part of the plan of the higher plan of the law of the universe. So this is a working law of the universe where the desire and the pain, they work together, which brings the soul a vast experience, which brings the soul to this physical world to attain a lot of experience and knowledge in this world. Because the ultimate goal is to create perfect man. Now you may ask me, why should the soul come back again and again, or take birth again and again, go through this cycle of desire and pain, and try to get experience, try to learn various lessons? What is the goal of it? Because the ultimate goal of this cyclic education of the soul is to create perfect man. So who is a perfect man? A perfect man who again come out in periods of manifestation, not for self-education, but as builder and God to guide the next manifested universe. So that is the ultimate goal, where a self comes back again and again to this world to gain education. But what is the ultimate goal? To create a perfect man. To create perfect man means perfect human who, who still comes back to this physical world, not to gain any more education, but to act as a builder, to act as a guide, to help the fellow travelers, or to help the fellow human who are still in the process of this education, and guide this universe or guide this human kind to the next manifested universe. So there is something which is higher than whatever is manifested right now. And then to guide the evolution to the next manifested level, these perfect men still come back to work. So that is the ultimate goal that of this cyclic education of individual soul. Hence, it is necessary not only to gain experience and knowledge, but to carry it to every manifestation. So it's not that the experience and knowledge that we gain in this particular birth, a particular cycle at this point of time, and just leave it here and go to the next. No, this education and this experience and this knowledge we carry from every birth, and then ultimately we accumulate it until it creates a perfect human, and then who can be used as a builder or as a guide to the next manifested universe. Hence, pain is very much necessary to make things undesirable at every stage or cycle of manifestation caused by desire. So desire brings the soul to the earth, to the physical world again and again, and pain makes things undesirable and then teaches a lesson that these are not that the ultimate goal of the life. And this desire and pain, they act and leads to the cyclic education of this soul, which manifests in this physical world again and again. Then what are the other uses of pain? Is there any other use of pain? We learn through pain the transitory nature of all that is not of the essence of spirit himself. So pain not only teaches to make things undesirable in this world, or to try to understand the higher laws, but pain also teaches that everything is transitory, nothing is permanent. Pain, it is the pain that teaches that everything changes. Change is the only permanent thing. We learn that lesson through pain. So, and we ultimately learn that it is the spirit or the higher self is what which is permanent, which doesn't change. And everything else is transitory, is only for a period of time, is only for time being, and everything pass on. So it is the pain that teaches this lesson that everything keeps changing and keeps moving on, and then we should also move on from that point. The miseries, disease caused by the tears of god of death, Yama, are the lessons which, in guise of pain, bring most useful teaching that nothing that is transitory can satisfy the soul. Only by learning this, the soul turns towards the true eternal happiness and joy that is permanent. Hence, the upward journey of soul begins. So, I think in the Hindu mythology there is this small story that Yama uh, once once shed his tears, and those tears of Yama, the god of death, fell on the earth, and that created disease and misery to the human. So it's just a story, but the real meaning of that is Yama is not the is considered as a destroyer, but uh, in true sense, he is not a destroyer. He is someone who brings about change. Because for every death, there is a next birth that is waiting. So hence, Yama is not a destroyer, but he is someone who helps this change to happen from one birth to the other birth. So here, the miseries, the disease, these all causes pain, and these are the things that makes us understand that nothing is permanent in this world. So even everything, whatever is what we are seeing here, may not be here the next day or some after some time, and even this body is not permanent. So once we learn that lesson, then the soul uh, start its journey upwards, trying to find which is a permanent, which doesn't change, the happiness on the joy, and that is the eternal happiness and the joy, which and hence that makes the soul to go towards that eternal happiness, that ultimate self, and hence the upward journey of the soul begins. This leads to another use of pain. So, what is the next use of pain? This sense of understanding that nothing is permanent in this lower world will lead to sense of giving. As we travel towards higher self, we realize there is more giving away than desiring to gain to self. So we have reached a position where through pain we have learned uh, that there is something higher than ourselves. There is a law abiding us, and nothing is permanent. Everything is changing. And through pain, we also learn that uh, we accumulate the experience, and ultimately we reach a stage where that uh, there is nothing that we can accumulate in this physical world, or there is nothing that we keep on desiring and which can remain with us. But as we travel, to the eternal self, there is more of giving away. So once we lose this detachment of gaining, then we get this sense of giving. So this sense of understanding is what we reach in after all these stages. So we reach a stage where we feel the necessary obligation that we have to give more than gaining things in this physical world. This sense of giving leads to brotherhood and a satisfaction of happy life. So that sense of giving comes to one particular stage of everybody's birth cycle, that the sense of giving is what you learn, and that leads to brotherhood and a satisfaction of happy life in that particular time when the soul is present in this physical world. And one more great use of pain is that pain leads to gaining of sympathy towards fellow men and not so evolved fellow souls. So once you travel in this cycle of rebirth, you keep coming back again and again to this world. As I said, you understand various aspects of eternal self, that nothing is permanent, only the soul is permanent, and then you get a sense of giving. But at one point, you also get through pain the sense of sympathy towards others. So the sympathy towards others is also what the pain teaches. It is the pain that takes birth in you when you see the pain in others. So that leads to sympathy. Pain leads to gaining of sympathy towards fellow men. As you travel upward, you find a purpose to serve fellow traveler through sympathy that is caused due to pain inside you towards the suffering of the others. So here, now what we are trying to understand is a different kind of pain. It's not the pain that is rooted in your desire, but the pain that comes or that takes birth when you sense the pain in other fellow men, and that leads to sympathy. So this is another use of pain that which gives sympathy, which gives a sense of sympathy, which teaches a sense of sympathy in you towards your fellow man, your fellow traveler in this cycle of rebirth. Pain also helps not to misjudge others. So that pain which gives sympathy, which makes you think about others, is what that also gives you a sense not to misjudge. If someone is bad, someone is rude, or someone is cruel to you, you still contain yourself. You still have that peace of mind and think in a peaceful way, not to react in the same way as others reacted towards you. And then you still think that the other person is not much evolved, and hence that is the reason that he or she is acting in that way. But you reach a stage where you have a sympathy towards others, and then you understand the real cause why the other person or the other fellow traveler is acting in that particular way. Here, pain is used as an instrument for evolution and purpose. So far we were discussing pain as a cause that makes you to evolve, but here pain is used as an instrument. So here at this stage, pain is an instrument. Using that pain uh, in this evolution, you develop this sense of sympathy and proper judgment towards other fellow men. Thus, pain is the path and not the goal. So therefore, the ultimate goal is not pain. Pain is only a path, but only a means by which the ultimate atmosphere of spirit is bliss, joy, and happiness. So the final goal of the spirit or the spiritual self is to reach that permanent joy, happiness, and bliss. So it's not the final goal of the self or the higher self is not pain, is not to always be in pain, but to be in bliss, joy, and happiness. And the pain is the path that takes us towards that higher self. Path of pain is only means and not the end. Out of this ocean of pain springs love, peace, and joy. So the pain is regarded as this ocean. And through this ocean of pain, that the lotus of uh, love, peace, and joy is what that springs out of this ocean. Never let pain to blind your eyes to the ultimate joy. Never let passing anxieties make you unconscious of the bliss, which is the core and heart of being. So once you understand this, what you need to do is never allow this pain to blind yourself from what is higher than you, from what is permanent, from what is regarded as the higher self, which is always in bliss, joy, and peace. And never let this passing anxieties, because once you understand that everything, nothing is permanent, everything pass on. So the anxieties also pass on, the miseries also pass on, the disease or anything that matters pass on. So never allow these passing anxieties to make you unconscious of the bliss, which is the core and heart of being. So never allow these passing anxieties, passing miseries, the pain that is caused in this physical world to make you blinded, to make you unconscious of that ultimate and permanent eternal bliss that is waiting, or that to which you have to travel. Look on the highest face. There is indeed the mark of pain, but of pain that is over and that has changed into strength, sympathy, and compassion. So look at that highest phase. Madam Blavatsky is trying to say that the highest phase is nothing but the ultimate, the eternal self, eternal soul. Look at the face of that. There is a mark of pain. Of course, through every cycle, through every experience, pain leaves a mark. But that mark, that pain is over. And that has changed to strength, sympathy, and compassion in that higher self. All messages of pain is that the spirit may gain liberation and attain peace. So all that the pain gives us a message is that the spirit, through every cycle of rebirth, has to be liberated through every cycle, and then lead to an ultimate liberation and attain that eternal peace. So that is the ultimate goal of pain, as explained by Madam Blavatsky in this lecture. And I hope I have not taken much time. We still have 15 minutes. I would like to open this session for discussion. Thank you, Pratika.
Thank you so much, Brother Pradeep. So as usual, you totally took the show and enlightened us, because we always take pain as a bad thing. But I think that sometimes you must get hurt in order to know, fall in order to grow, lose in order to gain, because life's greatest lessons are learned through pain. And as you said, that pain teaches us the feeling of gaining of sympathy towards others. So that's very much true, because when we have suffered the same thing, we can easily relate with others and not judge them that that person might be acting or doing something else. And Khalil Gibran says, your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. So I have got a very clear picture about pain, its meaning, and its use. So with this, I open the forum for any questions or comments or suggestions.
Okay, madam. May I have 1 minute? I am Dr. Hemant Sharma from Jodhpur, Rajasthan. I am retired professor of psychology from Janan Vyas University, Jodhpur, Rajasthan. May I ask, or may I just make one observation regarding Dr. Pradeep Reddy, the speaker of today?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sure.
Yes. Sir Reddy, you have covered all the aspects and paradigms and perspectives on pain, not only physiological, but psychological, philosophical. Now, there are two things. One is related to the pain sensitivity related to body needs, sensory and motor activity. And one is the affective desire or feeling component. So, if we are sensitive,
I think
has to create such type of pain tolerance or pain endurance. So how to increase this pain tolerance, particularly at the time of surgical operations, although anesthesia is there, but in feeling component, one is anhedonia, when we have developed such type of. So in medical psychology also, this pain component regarding all the aspects, not only psychiatric, but neurological, physiological, and feeling aspects. May I know your views upon this? How to increase pain tolerance or pain endurance? Thank you, sir.
Well, this question is more about the physical world rather than what we are trying to discuss here. But however, I don't want to discourage the question, but I still would like to say whatever I have learned in my experience. See, you are talking about how do we teach pain tolerance, pain endurance, in whether it is in whether you're talking about medical field or psychological field or spiritual field, what we are talking about. So let us let us first accept that there are these three different things. For the medical field, of course, pain tolerance, pain endurance is very much necessary. There are anesthesia, methods of anesthesia,
Yes.
and all those things. And psychological field also, you have your own techniques of pain
Yes.
endurance and pain tolerance, how to teach to tolerate the pain and go through whatever a person is going through. You have your techniques. And in a similar way, in the spiritual
Spiritual.
level also, there are various teachings that tell you why pain is necessary. So that's the main goal of today's lecture, Dr. Annie Besant's lecture, that what are the important uses of pain. So if you consider in all these three fields, I think we endure pain, we tolerate pain once we try to understand what comes next.
Right, sir.
Once we know what is coming next, that will help us to tolerate what is passing through. So the teaching of or the proper teaching, giving knowledge to a person passing through a particular stage of what comes next. If you pass through this, what is that waiting for you? So if you give that idea, if you give that clear-cut picture of what is next waiting for you, that makes a person to endure the pain, to tolerate the pain more. Even for a patient, if a doctor says
Yes.
pain for some days, for 3 or 4 days, but after that, this will be good and you will be happy to go home and you will be happy to eat these things and you will be happy to live your life like this. You will be happy to move your arms and legs like this if you keep it straight for a month and go through this pain. So that waiting to attain that particular happiness or something that is waiting after this passing cycle will make the patient to endure or take the pain in much better way. Or if
Thank
you
you,
say
sir.
this is
Thank
the
you very
end,
much.
until you die, you have to go through this pain, and even a small prick will pains a lot, right? And even in the psychological or whatever things that you have in your techniques, even if you say that if you pass through this, if you accept your pain, if you accept your miseries, and then ultimately you will come out of this and then you'll have this beautiful world that is waiting for you, a person will feel optimistic. So basically,
Right, sir.
and again in the spiritual field, whatever we are talking, that this pain is not something bad that is teaching you. There is something waiting for you. There is a higher life. There is a higher self. There is a permanent happiness and joy that is waiting for you. There is a higher purpose that is waiting for you. That makes us to endure and to tolerate this pain. So basically, the optimism of what comes next I think, is the best medicine to endure pain
Yes.
in every field. What I feel.
Thank you, sir. Good enough.
Hey, Kritika, this is Harnath. Is it audible?
Yes, sir.
So let me go further into the question what Mr. Sharma ji has asked regarding the physical pain and what Mr. Pradeep Reddy has tried to explain it. I think I am the better person because I had undergone this pain. So let me put some my views in this. Like, see, for suppose Dr. Sharma ji has asked about the physical pain that a patient who met with an accident when he's undergone this pain. And if you go and tell him like you have a better future, he won't listen because he's suffering from the pain and he wants to get rid of from the pain on that time. He future won't come into the picture at that time when he is undergoing into the pain. When he is in pain, how can he think about future? Like there is a beautiful world waiting for you outside. If you said that to him, because but for now I want to get rid of the pain. I don't. He wants to get rid of the pain in the present, right? See, actually, the thing is, there needs a clear observation. That is, am I audible?
You are audible, but you are not clear.
Not clear. Huh?
Now go ahead. We understood what you're trying to say. Please go ahead.
Yeah, is it audible now?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes,
Now.
please go ahead.
So, what I'm trying to tell here is a person who is undergoing pain in the present situation will never think about future because he wants to come out of from that pain. Right? If you tell him like you have a bright future, he won't listen because he can't tolerate that. He is in pain right now and he want to get out of that pain from right now. Right? But what needs here is a clear cut of observation. Clear cut of observation of what? What is pain? Actually there is no pain. If a person who is undergone an accident and who is undergone a surgery, he feels pain after surgery also. It is there in psychological terms, also in medical terms, that they call it as a phantom pain. Phantom pain is nothing but there is no such thing called pain, but he feels like there is pain. Once you clearly observe the pain, there is no pain. The mind is telling, the brain is telling you there is pain. But once he realized that there is no pain and brain is just making an illusion that there is a pain, he will never feel any kind of pain at all. The moment he realizes that there is no pain and the brain is just pushing me into illusion, he will never feel pain. And one thing I want to ask here is, that is about the medical part. And one thing I want to ask here is, if I ask, do you want pain or pleasure? What will you opt? If I come and ask you, if you want pain or pleasure, what will you opt? Will you opt for pain? If you opt for pain, then I don't know what to tell. Does pain really exist? Or is it a feeling created by thought? Or if you are continuously facing pain again and again and again and again, that pain converts into pleasure. A person who is undergone pain again and again and again and again, that pain turns into pleasure. And my right question here is, if I ask you, do you want pain or pleasure? Which one will you opt?
So can we answer that question? I think Mr. Harinan has brought up a very valid point that what Dr. Sharma has asked me was, how do you teach the endurance of pain, endurance and tolerance of pain? But while answering to him, I did mention that in the medical terms or in the psychological terms, that when someone is going through pain, you have your techniques, that is anesthesia or any other techniques of in the psychological field, where to contain the pain in the beginning. But that is containing of pain for time being. But what Dr. Sharma was asking is about the endurance and tolerance, which comes to the next level. Anyways, Mr. Harinan is asking for the containing of pain. But he even said that when a person undergoes accident, if you tell them, if you give this lecture that there is something much happy life ahead of you, you have to go through this pain. Of course, he is in a shock and he will not understand. That I completely accept. But at the same time, if you tell him when he when he is in the accident spot, that the pain is not what you are feeling, but that is what your mind is feeling. If you give this lecture also, he will agitate. So let us not give lecture to a person who has with a shock.
I want to make it very clear. Like if you tell this, there is no pain, he won't listen also. But when he has a complete observation about
I
what he is undergoing.
I don't think that teaching observation of pain to a person who is in a complete shock
don't
or
teach
an
him.
accident,
Don't teach him anything.
will,
What I'm trying to
will
tell
even
is,
help
don't
him.
teach him anything. Just leave him alone and tell him to observe what is going on. If the person is just trying to observe what is going on, he will never feel that. That's what I'm trying to tell.
I completely accept what Mr. Harinand is saying, that observation of pain before teaching endurance and tolerance of pain, to observe the pain is a very important aspect. Of course, observation of pain, observation of what is that causing pain is the first step. Before we develop a kind of optimism, what Mr. Harinand has said is to observe the pain is very much necessary. I completely accept that. But that is nowhere contradicting with what I said with Dr. Sharma's question about endurance and tolerance of pain. These both come in sequence, one after the other, but which is not, these two things are not anything that is opposite to each other. So, of course, first observation of pain, observation of what causes pain, and what is that making us feel the pain is the first step, and then learning of being optimistic of what comes next comes next. I completely accept that. For the example that he has given, I already mentioned, I'm not belittling whatever that we have to do when a person is in shock, when a person has met an accident or whatever immediate first aid thing that we have to do. I'm not belittling that. I'm talking about much ahead. Much ahead means when he reach a place where he's trying to come out of a particular phase. But once he met a fate, once he met something, of course, at that point, what we have to do, whatever we have to do. We have to treat him, give him in medical terms anesthesia or anything, and then try to help him to come out of that situation first, and then teach him how to endure or tolerate the pain. But what Mr. Harinand has said is to make a person to observe the pain is also very much necessary in the beginning. So these two are not something that is opposite, but which comes one after the other. They are not contradicting, they are complementing. So let's take it in that way. And for the other part of question, what he was asking, if you ask a person, you want pain or pleasure, what do you opt? Because he did mention that once a person undergoes pain and again and again and again, pain becomes pleasure. So I would like to correct to him here that once a person undergoes pain and again and again and again, it's not the pain that becomes pleasure, it's the lesson that he learned through the pain that is giving him the pleasure. So let's not confuse that these two things. It's not the pain itself that is giving pleasure to him, it's the lessons that he learned through every stage of whatever has caused pain that has become a pleasure for him. Means he has reached to at least to that extent where he understood what is real happiness, and that stage he has reached because that particular thing doesn't give him any more pain, because he has understood the meaning of it. He has understood that's not a permanent thing. He has understood how to detach from that thing. He has understood how to give up those things. So these are all the lessons that pain has taught. So ultimately, of course, I want pleasure. I prefer pleasure. Nobody prefers pain, because pain is just a path. The goal is to reach that pleasure. That goal is to reach that happiness. So through this pleasure, through the pain, we reach that happiness. So we should not select the pleasure or the pain. Both are the path, the means. But what we need to select is the ultimate happiness that we gain by the fighting of this pleasure and pain. Through the fighting, through the friction of this pleasure and pain, the ultimate happiness that we reach is what we need to opt for. We should not opt for these two things. We should not opt for, you can't ask, you want a neutral wire or a phase wire. Is ultimate, when they come together, the light that comes out is what you need to opt for. So these are the two things. Pain and pleasure are two opposite things. The friction of these two things will lead you to the ultimate happiness. So that is what you need to ask for, or not select between these two things. That's my answer.
Either way is like you said, that it is temporary. Both are temporary.
Yes.
Both will go away.
Yes.
Okay, so Dr. Sushma is saying that it depends on individual how they deal with pain. There is no general guidelines for dealing with pain. And Brother Jitendra is saying, very good presentation, Brother Pradeep. There are grades of pains. As pains greater and greater, it will lead to jolts in our lives. Jolts should take us to find the truth. Religious person will get more harder jolts. then he will turn towards societies like TS. Do you agree?
Let me go through what he has said. There are grades of pain. As pains greater and greater, it will lead to jolts in our lives. Jolts should take us to find the truth. Religious person will get more harder jolts. Then he will turn towards societies like TS. Do you agree? Well, what I try to understand with this question is, as a person faces pain in his life again and again. So there are various grades of pain. So what he's trying to say is a bigger pain or a lesser pain or something like that. And a religious person undergoes these pain and again and turns towards societies like Theosophical Society. What he's trying, let us put that in a simple format, that any person who is following his particular religion or any particular duty, let us say duty, dharma, the duty towards mankind or duty what he has to perform. That's all. So any person who is performing his duties in this world undergoes pain and again, and then that leads to him seeking for a truth, seeking for something that is higher. So that seeking can be anything. I mean, he can seek that through any means. I'm not saying the Theosophical Society as the ultimate thing that gives you that truth. No, you may seek that in your religion. You may seek that through some teacher, a guru. You may seek that through a book, or you may seek through your own experience. It's up to you. So there is not one fixed thing that will teach you about the ultimate truth. So basically, everyone should go through this phase and start seeking. So once you start seeking, something will help you, a person, a book, or a society, or a discussion, or a satsang, something will help you to reach or to learn about that ultimate truth. I completely agree, but nothing is fixed. Everything can teach you. A book can teach you, a satsang, a good friend can teach you, a good teacher can teach you ultimate. So there is nothing one particular thing. It depends on everyone. But seeking to that truth is common. That's all is common. We are all seekers. We got this question to seek something, and then we end up here. Somebody end up somewhere else. So but to seek is only common. From where do you get that? Again, the means, the path may be different.
Thank you, Brother Pradeep.
Hey, Pradeep, sorry to interrupt you again.
Okay,
one thing,
your video. Okay.
Yeah. See, one thing is like you have not answered my question, whether you seek pain or pleasure. If I ask, which one will you ask?
I did answer to your question much elaborate. I hope I was audible at that time, Kritika. Was I?
No, I.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So you opt for pleasure, right?
I think you missed the answer. Okay, let me repeat for you since you are on video. I answered to your question that you opt for pleasure or pain. I said I opt for none. I will opt for the ultimate goal, that the ultimate happiness that comes out of the friction of this pain and pleasure. Pain and pleasure are the two things that keeps acting, that because of the friction of these two things that teaches and then that leads us to the ultimate happiness. So that was my answer. Yes, please go ahead.
Yes.
So you will choose ultimate happiness, not pain or pleasure.
Yes, exactly.
Ultimate happiness is one form of pleasure. So
No.
one thing I would like to tell here is like what I want to try to tell here is, if you go to gym, the first day you feel very pain, right? If you go again, if you continue that habit, that pain will turn into pleasure, and you will be grown in terms of your physical terms. In the same way, if the psychological pain, if you are undergoing again and again, it turns into kind of pleasure in I can say like that. What you are telling is,
let me
like,
cut short you and use your own example to say that you're trying to confuse between pleasure and the ultimate happiness. So let me use your own example. You're going to gym, you find pain when you're doing the exercises, and then as you continue doing your exercises, the pain is lost and you're taking that as pleasure, right?
Correct.
And then pain has converted into pleasure is what you are trying to say. But there,
Correct.
what I'm trying to say is it's not the pain that has converted into pleasure. It's the lesson or the endurance that you have learned through the pain, that it's not making you to feel the pain. After you go for gym for 6 months, it's not paining to you, because it's not that the pain has converted to pleasure. It's the 6 months of pain has made you to tolerate the pain, to endure the pain. So you have learned a lesson there. So it's not that pain is not coming to you. It's you have learned, you have developed your muscle, which will no more pain by the continuous stretch and relaxing that you have gone through for 6 months. So it's not the pleasure. It's the understanding that there is no more pain there. First thing. Second thing, you're trying to say that stage as the pleasure, as ultimate happiness. No, the ultimate happiness is, if you go to gym and have a healthy life, the ultimate happiness is the healthy life. What is the goal of going to gym? Not to build your body, just to build your body and feel I have no pain. Is that the ultimate goal? You go to gym for 1 year to say that I no more feel pain by lifting 50 kg? No, the ultimate goal is to have a healthy life, to have a perfect healthy body. That is the ultimate happiness that I'm saying. The pleasure is not having pain is pleasure, fine, but I'm not choosing between these two. See the ultimate goal. You're going to gym not to say somebody that now I lift 100 kg and I don't feel pain. Is that the goal? No, the goal is to live a healthy life, right? You're going to gym at this 30 years of age, so that at 80 years of age, you live strong. And at 80 years of age, you can tell your grandson that because I went for gym for about 5 years or 10 years in my life, now I'm so healthy, I can play football at 80 when I'm 80, right? That healthy body is the ultimate happiness that I'm talking about. Not the.
So what I'm trying to tell here is, Pradeep, the ultimate, after 80 years, I want a healthy life, which is a form of pleasure, right? Which
sorry,
is a form of
I
desire.
completely disagree.
This is a
You
form
are
of
trying
desire.
you are trying to confuse between pleasure and ultimate happiness. I'm sure we can have a long discussion. Pleasure is time being, pleasure is passing thing, pleasure is not a permanent thing, but happiness, ultimate bliss and joy is something different. I'm not discouraging you. You will understand at some point of time that these two are different. Anyways,
Yeah.
I'm sorry
Actually,
to interrupt both of you, but it's already time. So let's continue this discussion on the WhatsApp group. And we are already running late. So I'll just close the meeting. Let's do the ending prayer. And thank you so much, Brother Pradeep. It was a very healthy discussion. So, yeah. Let us sit in meditation for a minute. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu मा कश्चित् दुःख भाग् भवेत्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ। Thank you so much, Brother Pradeep, and thank you so much, everyone.
You can put off the recording.
Yeah, that is what I was going to do.
If Mr. Harinand is still available, I'm available for discussion. Are you there, Mr. Harinand?